We're in Hispanic Heritage Month this month, and ahead of our special is coming up on Saturday, October 11th at noon. We're previewing all sorts of contributions the Spanish have made to Mississippi. And for this one, we go way back. Spanish people have had a hand in Mississippi's history from the early days of the European explorers. Take a look. It's difficult for cultures to meet and not influence each other, and that's what happened in Mississippi with people from Europe arriving here during the colonial era in what was to become the southwestern part of the state. And that's where most of the people moving here from the eastern seaboard during the Revolutionary War came. And when they got here, they discovered the Spanish were already in charge. But actually, way back before that, the first contact that Native Americans had with Europeans in what was to become Mississippi came before the colonial era, during the period of exploration and discovery. The very first Europeans to see this part of the world were from Spain. Explorer Hernando de Soto wandered into Mississippi in 1541. He found a thriving civilization of mound builders and hunter-gatherers, and he left behind stray horses that the indigenous people had never seen before, horses, and pigs. They were also something new. De Soto's group of explorers were also the first Europeans to see the Mississippi River, which De Soto could think of no practical use for. To him, it was just an obstacle. But after De Soto, it was a little over 150 years before Europeans came back to this area. And to make a long story fit this time slot, the French built Fort Rosalie in what was to become Natchez in 1716. They lost it to the British after the French and Indian War, and the British lost it to Spain after the American Revolution, after Spain allied with the fledgling U.S. The Spanish were in southwest Mississippi for about 20 years. They not only had Fort Rosalie and Natchez, but in order to solidify their hold on this part of the country, they also built Fort Nogales in what is now Vicksburg. The Spanish rule was generally considered amiable by the mostly British and American subjects they ruled over. The official religion was Catholic, even though most of the citizens were Protestant, but they managed to coexist. One historical incident that happened in the territory at that time was the wedding of Andrew Jackson and Rachel Robards at Springfield Plantation in Jefferson County. It was a Protestant wedding, and this was a Catholic colony. So 6 months later, after the Jacksons returned to Nashville, they repeated the ceremony just to make sure it was legal. But everything was finally resolved when the Treaty of San Lorenzo established the 31st parallel as the dividing line between Spanish West Florida and the U.S., with Spain to the south and the United States to the north. And we still have that line on modern maps as the Mississippi-Louisiana state line in southwest Mississippi, from the Mississippi River eastward to the Pearl River. And that treaty was signed in 1795, but it took the Spanish another 3 years before they actually left. And the final stroke was the establishment of the Mississippi Territory in 1798 and the coming of Andrew Ellicott, sent by George Washington to survey the boundary line, and him camping atop this hill and raising the American flag there for the first time. Now, this is the house on Ellicott's Hill in Natchez. The house wasn't there when Andrew camped there, however. So what's left behind from the Spanish era? Well, in Vicksburg, the sites where Fort Nogales was located are mostly still here. And in Natchez, the earthworks from the French, then British, then Spanish Fort Rosalie. It's owned by the Natchez National Park. And one more thing, you've been to downtown Natchez? Well, obviously before the buildings were built, but not long before the first ones, the street plan of the town of Natchez was laid out by the Spanish in 1790. A parting gift from the Spanish colonialists for the ages.